have had this conversation now with a few people, more than a few times. And so I found myself saying the same thing over and over again, and it leads me to believe that more and more people want to hear this, because usually the response is like, wow, I never thought of it that way, and this is really helpful. So if I can help multiple people at the same time, that is my goal here. So in general, what I'm finding is that, and some of you have probably heard me say this before, when I have a client that comes to me and says, my biggest problem with food is that I'm an emotional eater, I point out that that's not a problem that you have with food. That's a question about how you're coping with your emotions. So what I hear a lot is that I couldn't stop eating cake, or I was out with my friends and I just couldn't stop, whatever, or I'm a babysitter. This is what I've heard a couple times now, is I'm a babysitter and I'm just snacking on food all day and I don't know why and I can't stop. So food, this is why, to me, being a combination of a personal trainer, a health coach, and a therapist is so valuable and honestly powerful, because it's not about the food, it's about the behavior around the food. So the issue is not that you're eating cake. I think we can all agree that a little bit of everything is okay. The issue about eating the cake is that you can't stop. And the actual issue is not what you're eating, the food, it's how you're eating it uncontrollably. And so the way that I've explained this to a couple people recently is that when I lost my weight, and now people ask me, well, how do I maintain 150-pound weight loss? And my answer is never diet and exercise. That doesn't work, and that is its own thing. But my answer to that is always doing other things with my emotions, not eating them, right? So that for me is meditating, is going to yoga, is writing, is going to therapy, is crying when I feel upset rather than pretending I don't feel upset and then eating about it later. That's my pattern. That's how I work. So I explain it like I use this kind of metaphor that going through life, we all have bags of like stress, anxiety, fear, sadness, loneliness, any human emotions. Like that's what we feel on a daily basis. Like your train is running late, you're stressed, you're helpless. Like those are emotions that happen. So instead of showing up into a room of food with all of this baggage and feeling my stress, anxiety, fear around food, if I deal with those things in another way, like meditate, go to therapy, something like that, then it allows me to walk up to food and have it just be food again. Because if you're eating uncontrollably and you can't stop, you're not eating to fulfill hunger. You're not eating because your body's hungry. Because that's a different thing. Is, well, are you eating if you're hungry? That's one thing. But the problem a lot of people have with themselves is that they're eating when they're not physically hungry, which means you're responding to a hunger that's not physical. It doesn't mean it's not real. It just means that your hunger is for something that cannot be satiated with food. It's emotional hunger. It's psychological hunger. Are you starving for love, attention, abundance, like anything? And you're responding to that kind of starvation with food. And so when you can process your baggage of stress, anxiety, all of those things in another way, you can show up to food and just have it be that physical thing that satiates that physical hunger. And that can only happen if you start dealing with your emotions using something other than food. So if you find that you are an emotional eater, and that is anything from when you get sad or angry or bored, what else can you use that's not food to deal with your sadness, anger, frustration, boredom, stress, etc. That's the question. Food, our bodies, the mirror, weight, all of it. I would start to think of that as a scapegoat, because it's really not about the food. It's about what you're doing when you're around food. That's a behavior thing. So I hope that helps a little bit. Instead of providing motivation to stop eating the way you're eating, my advice is get curious. Why are you eating the way you're eating? It's okay. You're doing something very normal and human. But if you want to figure out how to stop doing that, it's not about figuring out how to stop doing it. It's about figuring out why you're doing it in the first place. And yeah, that's how I maintain my weight loss. So I would love to hear what you think about this in general, because a lot of people have told me, wow, I never thought of it that way. Wow, this makes a lot of sense. And yeah, I would love to hear how this sits with you guys. Yeah. Okay, thanks. Bye.